Good evening to all listeners and viewers. So we will carry on from where we left yesterday. The session is talking about the challenges typical business analyst community is facing in terms of building that knowledge, and how KDD, more specific DKF, which is the domain knowledge framework, aims to help in that scenario. So let me share my screen, and I will also possibly do a bit of a recap for those people who are joining today, or even if they have joined yesterday, it will refresh uh, the memory. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen, right? One second.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll carry on from here. So what we did yesterday, we started with the core competency of a business analyst, and we looked at three aspects: technique, which is typically your models which you apply, your requirements gathering as you do; interpersonal skills, which are like your soft skills, how you collaborate, how you communicate, how you work in a team, and all that; and business knowledge. Business knowledge again comes in two flavors: horizontal domain and vertical domain. Horizontal domain could be CRM, security, those kind of stuff, which is cutting across the industry line. And vertical domain is what we normally call industries: insurance, banking, healthcare, and all of that. Now, our focus is more on business knowledge, and there too more specific on the vertical domain. That is the industry which we are talking about. Now, if you look at the knowledge or business knowledge which is there with the business analyst, that forms the core of any system development, maintenance, you name it. It is very much the subject matter of those software which is being developed and all that. But we face a lot of challenges in terms of acquiring those knowledges, and that's what we discussed yesterday. We picked a few challenges which were there. What we are trying to do is how we can overcome those challenges, how that can be handled better. To do that, we need to understand business knowledge little more better. So that's where we had shared uh, this information that business knowledge comes in four forms: industry knowledge, which is for a particular industry like banking, insurance, something like that; and then it gets transformed into enterprise knowledge, which is like specific organization which is adopting to that industry, right? In this case, let's say if it is banking industry, then enterprise could be SBI. And then project knowledge is when that particular enterprise is trying to add something or trying to modify something. So they will carve out a portion of the enterprise knowledge which needs to be modified. So that becomes the project knowledge. And finally, application knowledge, which is what the consumer typically uses, right? Any end user which typically uses, like your app, which you do that, right? Now, from a business analyst perspective, the industry knowledge is a foundation for you to know about the industry, right? For you to get started in that industry, it is good to know about the industry. Once you are inside the industry, you need to know the enterprise knowledge, like how the policies, product, and all of that is there, so that you can run the business the way it is expected. And project knowledge is needed when you are trying to modify something from that enterprise knowledge. So as a fresher, the aim should be to acquire that knowledge. As a experienced one, the focus should be to keep enhancing it, right? There's no end to enhancement, so keep enhancing it, right? Now, in this journey, that's where DKF comes in, plays a role. So we will see about the features of DKF as we go along. But DKF is one arm of KDD, which is knowledge driven development. The other arm is atomic knowledge model, or AKM. With these two together, we take care of both the knowledge gathering, business knowledge structuring, and all that, plus leveraging that structure for project development and all. our focus today is on DKF. So what DKF is doing is, first of all, DKF focus on common and digitized structure. That's its prime focus. It's a framework which is trying to bring commonality in structure and also digitizing the information which is available, all the knowledge information which is available for any industry, right? So it is industry agnostic. Same structure, same framework can be used for any industry. So what DKF does is it aims to convert the knowledge which are there in unstructured form today, right? It is in the book, it is in the videos, it is in the images, sound bites, maybe in the mind of experts and all that. It aims to convert that in a more structured way, and not just structured way, also digitize that so that you can build the relationship between all those different pieces of knowledge. Now, to do that, it really takes it down to the micro level. What we call it is atomic pieces of knowledge. So, it converts all the atomic pieces of knowledge and then the build relationship between them. And it uses knowledge graph to do that, right? Now, the way DKF overcomes this, it's through all these 8 key features which DKF has. And using those features, these are the limitations which we had talked about earlier. We are facing the vastness of the subject or unstructured format, all of that is what DKF aims to overcome, right? And through these features, it does that. So this is just to cover what we did yesterday, a quick recap, right? I'll just take a small pause. I'll pick up if there's any query, any clarification here. But before I do that, I want to pick those 2 questions. Professor Jay, you had asked that questions yesterday and I deferred it today. If you're there today, I'll pick up those questions.
Sure.
So, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So if I remember, the 2 questions were the first one, and you can correct me if I'm missing out something there. The first one was, what is the method to ascertain that we have reached to the atomic piece of knowledge stage? That was first question.
Sure.
And the second question, if I remember, it was, what is the system, right? Or is there any system through which we can find a most appropriate or optimal software, from a cost perspective, efficiency perspective, right? So
I think I must appreciate your memory.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. So let me pick the first one first. Now, the way we look at atomic piece of knowledge. Now, when we say atomic piece of knowledge, for us to, everyone to have a good understanding of that, we have to have a common understanding of what we are calling as an atomic piece. The way KDD looks at it is, when we are able to get down to the level where we cannot break it down any further in a meaningful way. What it means is, if we are breaking it down any further, the meaning of that particular knowledge is getting diluted or getting distracted. Now, how we kind of measure it, or how we consider it, is looking at how consumer uses it, right? So, for example, let's say we look at a consumer will deal with transactions, right? So if consumer is using a particular transaction, let's say somebody has got his account opened and he or she wants to modify nomination there, right? So to modify the nomination, there's a transaction that you will provide the nomination document or detail and all that. We consider that as a transaction, and that becomes the atomic piece of knowledge. Similarly, it could be product also, right? If you're talking about a product, if the consumer is buying that product or using that product or service for their purpose, we call it as an atomic piece of knowledge. So that's the way we are looking at it. And in DKF format, we really keep drilling down from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 till the time we are able to reach to that level where consumer can start saying, hey, this piece of knowledge, this is a transaction which I know, I use, and that's the the minute level which I handle with. Did I answer the question, sir?
Okay. So does it mean that customer is our ultimate aim?
Mm-hmm.
And if customer is fully satisfied, like from Amazon, for example, when we are getting something, and
Mm-hmm.
when we chat whether are you satisfied something, and then no, I don't have any further question. Thank you very much. Does it mean that we have reached to the atomic level?
Okay, so excellent, excellent. So the way I'm looking at is, I mean, if I look at from a KDD perspective, it doesn't stop anybody from drilling down further. But in our philosophy, we are saying that we are going to the transactions which the customer is using. And as long as the customer is satisfied with that transaction uh, being the lowest level, the at a level which is the granular, most granular for him or her, we consider that to be the atomic piece of knowledge. Like you said, if we are asking for a feedback from the customer and customer submits a feedback, right? Whether he says yes or no, happy and all of that is different. But that transaction of asking for a feedback and customer submitting a feedback, that's a transaction. So up to that level, we look at it. So we will move forward unless anybody has any question from the recap which I did from yesterday. Otherwise, I'll move on to
We
the
do have one question in the chat.
sure. Tell
Yes.
me.
Amit Kumar says that we have understood that through KDD we have a single view of the whole business and its
Mhm.
process as well as specific rules custom to an organization. But I have a question related to how are we going to create this? Question is who is the stakeholder in creating this one view?
Hmm. Excellent question. Excellent, Amit. Um, so first of all, when we are talking about stakeholder, we are not talking about a particular person, a particular role per se. The knowledge is for that particular enterprise, industry and enterprise. So from that perspective, there are multiple stakeholders which could be involved in this. For example, let's say when we are talking about, let's say, the senior management, the executives in an organization, now they would be interested at a higher level, knowledge, product, the level one and level two. Typically, we talk about it, right? So we need to involve them, right? We need to involve their partners because they need to see how systems are uh, being used to capture that information and how that information helps them do their work in a more efficient way. When it comes to the project level or down to the level where transaction is happening or people are interacting with the customers, their end consumer, those stakeholders will be different. So they need more detailed information, more broken down information at that level. So the stakeholder at that level will be those people who are, let's say, like people who are selling the insurance, right? Life insurance or general insurance, those could be the stakeholder. So depending on what level of information we are looking at, we will have multiple different stakeholder to which it will cater. Yeah. Thank you. So I'll move on now. So, so while I gave a high level view of, and yesterday we did a demo also, we will touch upon each of these 8 features. Some of them will go in slightly more detail. Some of them we will pass through, and in some sense. So first feature is contextual knowledge. I think we all saw that yesterday, right? That DKF keeps all this information, you know, in a contextual way. All these different boxes which you see, these keep those information which are relatively static, and that gives you the context of that particular industry. This will not change much. So as a newcomer, let's say if you want to, somebody wants to build a career in a new industry, or even if you're talking about, let's say, IT industry, some of you want to build your career in IT industry. Now today you are building your technological knowledge, right? You're learning the new languages and all of that. But when you go into the industry, in the IT industry, you have to deal with different customers, right? And their customer could be in life science, retail, manufacturing, aviation, insurance, banking, any of this industry. So for you to be able to understand the context of their business so that you can serve them better, this will help you. And it captures all of this information in a very granular way, right? So it's very intuitive. You can drill down, you can go down, you can read it, you can see the connections between them. It helps you pull that information in one place, right? And as I said, it is not changing so often. It changes only, let's say, some of the information will change maybe once a year or twice a year kind of thing. A lot of others will remain very much intact, unchanged. So that helps a big way, particularly for the freshers, who want to start, right? So that's one feature which makes it very, very, powerful. And this contextual knowledge for each industry can be kept in this tool. The second feature is the glossary, and glossary is quite vast here. So, when we talk about glossary, it keeps all the items, but it also helps you, pick up those glossaries from the keywords, the first letter of the keyword. So if you go to M or I or H, you can filter out all of that. But at the same time, it also differentiates between the terminology which is used, same terminology in different industries. So example here taken was OTC, which is over the counter, right? Now this is a very common terminology which is used across industries, right? When you go to healthcare, OTC would mean that you go to the counter, you can buy some medicine, or take some item from the pharmacy, right? That's what OTC is. If you come in the insurance, OTC means those transactions which you can do, straightforward transactions, simple transactions which you can do in a single visit on the app or in the office or the branch office of the industry. I mean, for that entity, right? So that's what is called OTC. Similarly, banking OTC is defined in a different way. Automobile OTC is defined in a different way. So when you go in this, it captures all the glossaries, but also for that particular industry, so that you are very clear from that perspective. The second aspect of this is that it connects this terminology to different processes within that industry. Like for example, in this case, the OTC is connected with these three processes: the change in phone number, change in email, and change in address. Now, when we are talking about insurance per se, these three processes can be done through OTC. So that kind of a knowledge also you can very easily pick out through going through these glossaries, right? So that's the second feature. The third feature, which is the reusable common structure. And two key things of DKF is restructuring using the common structure and digitizing, right? So common structure, we will see an example of how it applies it. So here I've taken an example from a banking to start with. So if you look at any bank, it will typically at a high level, it will be either corporate bank, retail bank, or investment bank. And the processes would be launch, administration, withdrawal, right? So this is at level one. Now, if we break down this particular node, retail banking and administration, to next level, we can go to the next level of products, right? Or sub products rather, deposit account, advance account, and sub processes. And then we can drill down to the next level and then we can drill down to the next level. So we can go down the same common structure we are using for this, right? At the bottom most level, you will have the saving account could be of a regular saving account, student account. These are the ones which we are familiar with at a granular level, which as a consumer we interact. And then we have the knowledge nuggets. Now I have just given example of knowledge nugget at this level, but this can be at any level. Now, if you look at from a banking perspective, that if you have to understand the retail banking from end to end, right? Only retail banking I'm talking about. And if assume that the way this node has broken to 4 nodes in the next level, and that is broken to 4 into 3, 12 levels in third level. If the same kind of a distribution is there, then for us to understand the whole industry, we will need about 2,304 nodes. That banking, retail banking industry I'm talking about. And if we are talking about the atomic pieces of knowledge, which is the knowledge nuggets, if I assume on an average 25 knowledge nugget, so 2,304 into 25, which is roughly like 57,000 knowledge nuggets. So this is the way it is capturing that information. Now this I have taken about banking. If I apply the same thing for any other industry, like here I have taken an example of oil and gas, which is a totally different industry. Same structure we can apply. Oil and gas starts with the crude oil and natural liquefied natural gas as the first topmost level product, and the processes are exploration and production, shipment, and refining, right? Then we can break it down to the next level, right? We get to subproducts, oil and additional products, and sub-processes. We break down to the third level. We get into heavy products, solvents, cooking products, light products, right? Go down to the last level, we get petrol, diesel, lubricant, right? And similarly, the processes also kind of breaking down. So we are, and again, I have put some of the knowledge nugget here. So as you can see, same common structure we are using for banking, we can use for oil and gas. We can use for any other industry as well. Like insurance, we have already shared example in the demo yesterday. Same structure we are using. So that makes it very powerful in the sense that you can capture the knowledge in a similar way. And if you have to change from one industry to another industry, you don't have to learn a new set of tools, right? The same framework will help you build that knowledge, right? I'm just taking a small pause. Any question on these 3 features? No?
There's nothing
Okay.
in the chat, yeah.
Okay. No worries. No worries. That's good. Okay. So let me move to the next one, which is the knowledge node hierarchy. Now, knowledge node, as I told yesterday, that's kind of a container of the knowledge nugget. This is the cross section of product and process. So each of these nodes, they are containing the knowledge about that product and that process, the cross section of that. And the whole hierarchy captures the entire knowledge of that industry. So, this framework allows the whole knowledge to be depicted through those knowledge nodes, right? So all those knowledge nodes help in terms of capturing those knowledge. For example, the convention we have used in our tool, that when we have a yellow circle at the node, that means you can drill down below that. So that means going to the next level. When there's a gray cell, that means there's no further nodes below that, right? So that parent-child relationship ends there. And if there's no circle, that means that node is not applicable, right? Because some product and process combination could be such that you don't have anything there, right? So they don't exist. So it helps to visualize that. It helps you to know which nodes you need to pick up. Now the advantage of that is you can also build your expertise in certain area, right? For example, if you are in insurance, you need not know everything about it. But if you are talking about a particular product and process, you can see how many nodes below that is what comprises the complete knowledge for that particular product and process combination. Right? So it helps you in that. Right? So like in insurance, we had seen at the first level we have 15 nodes because there's one which was not applicable. Right? General insurance and scheme administration is not a valid combination. So hence it was 15. And when you go to the next level, this 15 breaks down to 279 knowledge nodes. Roughly about 18 to 19 nodes, from level 1 to level 2 on an average, right? So, that's where you get to the next level, and you can keep going down like that, right? So it breaks down to level 3, which becomes almost like 2000 knowledge nodes from there. And in DKF, currently we have roughly about 1500 nodes already completely taken care of in terms of the knowledge that we are capturing is already about 1500. So roughly 500 is still pending. That over the time we will cover that also. And then finally you go to the level 4. There it gets into about 45,000 nodes. Right there we have only about 6,000 we have completed, 6,500 to be close to that. But the great thing is that if you look at from a people perspective, do you need to know all 45,000? Possibly not, right? Because you will not be dealing, let's say if you're talking about an agent or any customer for that matter, they will be dealing with some product, some processes at that level, maybe level 4. So you will possibly need to know 5 to 10 nodes, right? That will suffice. Even when you're talking about any customer is trying to modify or trying to create a new project, when you encompass the project knowledge, it will touch some nodes. So you need to know those nodes and the breakdown of those nodes, right? So it helps in terms of encompassing the whole knowledge which is applicable for that particular project. It makes it very useful from that perspective, right? And then knowledge nugget at nodes. All the knowledge which we are talking about is captured in the atomic piece of knowledge, which we call it knowledge nuggets, right? So, for example, here there's an example given for banking. These are some of the knowledge nuggets at level 4. Level 4 is the lowest level as far as banking is concerned in that, right? So it's just an example. But if you look at this industry knowledge in each of these knowledge nuggets, they contain all the information which is sufficient or fit for purpose knowledge for anybody, whether it's consumer, whether it's a project manager, whether it's a developer, tester, agent, your salesperson, for them, this knowledge is sufficient, right? May not be same knowledge for all of them. Different people will look at different knowledge, but each of those knowledge is captured through this knowledge nugget, that atomic piece of knowledge. Like here, example given here is like there is a knowledge nugget number, which is policy administration of general insurance products, right? It's a general knowledge because it's a level 1, right? This is at level 1. So it just explain what this knowledge is, right? So senior management will typically be happy knowing about this knowledge for their day-to-day working. When you go down to a lower level, it will be at a more granular level, right? And each node will capture it. At a higher level, it will be contextual knowledge, which is generic in nature. But as you go along, it will become more detailed, and detailed knowledge will be more dynamic because they will change because of project, because of the changes which is happening through regulations or customers' need. This knowledge will keep on changing. Okay, and this knowledge nugget are connected with each other. They are connected with node also. They are connected between them also. So there could be a one-to-one relation between two knowledge nuggets. There could be one-to-many relation. So one knowledge nugget connected to multiple knowledge nuggets. There could be many to one. So multiple knowledge nuggets connected to one knowledge nuggets, or there could be many to many, or for uh, you know relationship is possible. Same is between knowledge nuggets and nodes, right? So it is looked at that. But when we look at the knowledge nugget at level 4, that's the bottom level, which is a transaction, which happens day-to-day transaction. So that's what we call as the atomic piece of knowledge at that level, right? So you can typically say the knowledge nugget at level 4 will correspond to the business transactions. Level 3 will typically be components or functions or module of that. As you go up, it will be applications and systems and all that, right? Now here are some examples of some of these knowledge nuggets which we have seen there, but it's kind of covered out here. Okay, I'm taking another pause. If any questions before I move to the last three features. No? Okay, no worries.
Yeah, we
Now
have
I'm moving to, is there a question?
no question, but yeah, Ranganatham sir is saying that you are explaining it in such a simple language that it is very easy to understand.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Okay, now I'm touching on the what comes very close to my heart. What makes this model so powerful. That's the quantification of knowledge. And why I say this? Because when you are trying to build knowledge of any industry, or for that matter any knowledge, if you don't know the magnitude, right, you might get worried about it, right? It kind of creates a bit of a hesitation or scariness in your thought and all of that. But if you're able to quantify it, saying, okay, yeah, you need 100 pages, if you read this 100 pages you will become an expert, right? At least it gives you some sort of a sense that what you are talking about it. What this model has done is it has made it possible that you can quantify the knowledge which is needed for any person to call himself or herself expert. And when I'm using expert, I'm using in inverted comma because the interpretation of expert could be different. But my thought here is that it will help you to build the workable knowledge once you know how much of that knowledge you need to understand, right? So that's a very powerful. And that's why we now call it that industry knowledge is finite, right? Because we can quantify. And why we are saying so is because we are capturing information, we are breaking down to a next level and further level down and further level down till the time we get to the micro level, which is the atomic piece of knowledge, which we cannot break down any further in a meaningful way. So that way we are able to pull it out. So, each knowledge nugget keeps a unique knowledge at each node. That knowledge is for the product. So it will tell you at that node about the product. It will talk about the process. But most importantly, it will talk about the relationship between those product and process. So at any node, when you are gathering all those knowledge, it tells you the relationship between the product and process, right? And how many of that is needed? Well, like we said in insurance, if you look at level 4, there will be about 45,000 nodes, right? So 45,000 is big number, but still it's a number, right? We are saying it is 45,000. So with 45,000 nodes, you can cover all the knowledges of industry, right? In insurance industry, right? And if I assume on an average about 20 nuggets, just a number, we are talking about roughly like 9 lakh nuggets. So what it means is that if I know 9 lakh knowledge nuggets, I know inside out of insurance industry. Now that's massive, right? Nobody can remember all the 9 lakh, but we don't need to. Right? First of all, we don't need to know 9 lakh because of that relationship, one to many to many, and all of that. The unique knowledge nuggets will be somewhere around 1 to 2 lakh. This is our guess because we have not done the whole thing yet. But our guess is because of uniqueness, it will come down to maybe somewhere between 1 and 2 lakh. But to master it for your day to day work, you don't need to know even those 1 to 2 lakh, right? Because you will be focused on a particular product, particular process in a particular given point of time, right? So there it could be maybe some thousands of knowledge nuggets, maybe some 8-10 nodes which you need to. That makes it very powerful for anybody to pick up that knowledge for the industry. If you are changing industry, for example, let's say if you're catering to an insurance client today, tomorrow you are catering to a retail client, for example, right? For you to build the knowledge of that industry or that particular business segment which you're catering to, you can quantify how many nuggets you need to know, and within that nugget, how many knowledge nuggets you need to know about it, and it will make it easier for you to build the knowledge of that. Right? So that's very powerful of this. So any newcomer can really take a lot of advantage of this. Even the experienced one, when they change from one stream to another stream, this will really give them quite a satisfaction in terms of building that knowledge. So I consider it very powerful. The next one is the single source of knowledge. Now throughout we are using the relationship between the knowledge nugget. So if there's a knowledge nugget defined once, and if the same knowledge is used anywhere else, we don't need to redefine it again, right? The same reference will be used and it can be connected, right? So that builds the the knowledge, unique knowledge available for anybody to use, right? So you have a single source of knowledge throughout, right? And as you can see in some of these, like underwriting in this case, this is one example where this underwriting is a process. Now within that, there are 4 products: whole life, long term, endowment, and term insurance. All the 4 use the same knowledge nugget, which is factors to be considered in underwriting, right? So you don't need to define it separately. Once you define this connect with all the 4, you need not define it again. So it's your single source of truth as far as that knowledge is concerned, right? Just one example. There are so many examples like that. Right? And then, of course, it presents it in a knowledge graph. So it shows you pictorially how they are connected with each other, and that makes it much easier for you to visualize it. Or if you want to modify something, it makes it easier to see the impact of any changes, or if something needs to be added, what all can get impacted. It becomes much easier to visualize that, right? So single source of knowledge. And the last feature is the variety of knowledge nugget which you can have, right? Because in the industry, not every knowledge is of the same type. So it provides multiple attributes using which you can capture that knowledge nugget in the way you want to understand that. So it has typically, main 7 attributes, and there's something called additional, which is conditional. Depending on what knowledge nugget type is, there could be some additional information which can come in. And for each of these attributes, there will be some value. But when it comes to knowledge type, there are so many types of knowledge nugget. Activity, business rule. We had seen that yesterday, right? In the demo, I'd shown business data, KPI, all of those were kind of depicted. And this is just an example of how these attributes can have certain values through which you can connect, we can understand them. right? So depending on the type of the knowledge nugget, the list of attributes may vary. Like I said, if the type is, let's say, business rule, for example, there could be some additional attributes like the default data, date format, all those things would be there. Okay, some examples I'm just sharing out here. Yeah, these are the 9 different types of knowledge nuggets. An example of each of those knowledge nugget, different examples given here, right? It need not be at the um, same node, but these are just examples of how this is captured. And when you are talking about an additional information, it can even capture additional information on that, right? Um, like, yeah, these are some of the examples of how you are capturing this business data. There you have some additional features which you are capturing additional attributes like, digit after decimal point, field length, those kind of additional things could be there. You can even have some additional information, right? You can have a picture, you can have a video, you can have a link which you can connect so that, if somebody wants to refer to it, it will give you additional input on that. So these are the 8 features which makes it very, very comprehensive, so to say. And but my most likable one, or rather 2, one is that framework, the common framework, and second is that quantification. Yeah. Any question?
Yes, sir, we do have 2 questions, but just before that, I'd like everyone, I'm sharing a feedback link, so I'm requesting everyone to just fill that up so we can know your thoughts as well. So yeah. And
Sure.
I've also shared links for the LinkedIn page and the website for any further information. So after the session, if anyone is interested, we can go ahead. So yeah, we have 2 questions. One is from Rajan sir. So he is saying that he's asking where the information in the nodes are collected from.
Where the information is collected from.
Yeah, in the nodes that we have.
Okay, so all this knowledge, so first of all, this knowledge is available in different forms in the enterprise. It could be in their website, it could be in the PPTs, it could be in different books, which are available for those enterprise. So from there, it can be pulled out. But if you look at from industry, we have the information which is available on the net in the book form with different experts, right? From all of that. So the way we are capturing it, we are taking advantages, or we are leveraging the experts from those industries. But when it comes to the enterprise, then obviously we will look at how the enterprise is adopting it, and from their sources, it can be built. Yeah, any other question?
Yeah, we have one more. So when you say a single source of knowledge, it is like a single source of truth. But today in a bunny world, the shelf life of knowledge is very short. How does this framework ensure knowledge is fresh and updated?
Excellent question. Excellent. I loved it. Loved it. Yeah, I mean, see, knowledge is only useful when it is relevant, right? So it's very, very important to keep it updating, right? As the things are happening and all that. So if you look at when any project is happening, once you modify um, the knowledge nodes or knowledge nuggets in that, at the end of it, we are going back to the enterprise and refreshing it so that we are capturing that information. So constantly that process will keep on going, right? So if you're an enterprise, you're working on building an application, right? You build that application. Once the application is done, all the knowledge which is created as a process of that goes back into the enterprise. So it becomes a relevant one. So anything which was old is replaced. Till that point of time, it will remain. If there are some mandatory changes happening from, let's say, customer side or government side, because of regulatory and all of that, or let's say a new terminology which is coming from a glossary perspective, those will keep on getting added. If it is industry, we will make sure that those industry things are picked up and updated in the tool. If it is an enterprise, then it is a responsibility of enterprise owners to update that. But yes, it has to be kept up to date. Tool makes it gives the feature of how to update it, because once you have completed the project, the closing activity will ensure, or rather force you to go and update the enterprise knowledge. Excellent question. I loved it.
I'd also like to add here that right now the knowledge capturing that we mostly do is from documents. We just dump a lot of documents in a portal. So again, documents, those are not editable, and even if they are, it's hard to track down where those changes have to be changed again. So that is again another thing that KDD can help with here.
Thanks, Sumi. Good addition. Okay, so I'll just move in the last section. So I've just put some use cases, and again, these are not the exhaustive list, but I thought, if we are looking at it, how we can use it from any enterprise perspective or an industry perspective, right? And there could be many, many more use cases, but I just picked up from my perspective. Let's say if you're talking about a freshers joining an industry, right? This contextual knowledge, the glossary, the quantification of knowledge, and the knowledge node hierarchy, so that you can understand which are the node you need to focus on. That will help you in terms of building that knowledge. If you are been into the system for a few months, you will like to enhance your knowledge about the enterprise. You will use that common structure to understand the different aspect of that enterprise, different products, different processes, what is inside that. You can use this feature of the tool for that. Rest of it will more or less remain same. Maybe knowledge nugget will get added, because now you're part of the system. You want to know more granular detail about it. If employee is switching from one team to another team, right? Let's say somebody was looking at life insurance, now is moved on to general insurance. I don't know whether anybody will do it, but hypothetically thinking that if that happens, it becomes very easy for the person to go back to this tool, look at the reusable component through which it is showcasing all the products for the general insurance now, all the process of it can quantify how many nodes you need to build your knowledge for the new thing, and you can take care of all the glossaries, refresh your memory through those glossaries and all that, right? So like that, you can use different ones. Senior management can look at overall level 1 and level 2 knowledge. And even for a project manager or product manager or the business analyst itself, even for test analyst, you can use the new project using this knowledge node, knowledge nugget, different types of knowledge nuggets, to make sure that you have captured the requirement correctly. You're not missing out anything. Okay, so in summary, last slide, we talked about 4 levels of knowledge: industry, enterprise, project, and application. 4 level knowledge: industry knowledge for freshers, enterprise knowledge and project knowledge for experienced ones, right? I'm talking about a business analyst community. KDD has 2 arms, DKF and AKM, right? DKF is domain knowledge framework. AKM is atomic knowledge model, which takes the DKF thing forward for the project delivery perspective. 4 key things here are product, process, knowledge nodes, and knowledge nugget. The whole tool, comprises of these 4 things. Everything is captured using a combination of these 4. Level 1 and 2 for generic level of knowledge, which typically senior management will use. Level 3 and 4 is a more detailed one, which people will use at a granular level. The consumer will use, your agents will use, your people who are doing day-to-day transactions, they will use. Right? And this tool uses knowledge graph to digitize it and to build that relationship so that it is much easier to identify if there's anything changing, what impacts it will have on that. Digitized knowledge nuggets are kept in two forms: knowledge nugget business, which looks at all the knowledge nuggets on the business side, and knowledge nugget IT. So when you build the system, all those nuggets which are on the IT side, it helps in terms of building that relation, that you have not missed out anything. 8 features of DKF, we just talked about it. These 8 features which makes it very powerful. AKM extend the DKF to the whole SDLC. We have not touched upon that because our focus is on DKF today, but maybe some other time we will do for AKM. We'll see how AKM could be used for that. And it uses ABCD mechanism for project execution, where A is to identify the knowledge nuggets impacted, B is to find the relationship between those things, C is to get automatic, if there's any inconsistency that can be identified, automatic review, and D is where manually you can review and find the fixes if there's any need. For project management, it uses RRR, which is reuse, review, and rectify. These three. So reuse is the existing structure, and review rectify is for quality assurance. And finally, we have a tool, the demo tool, which we saw yesterday. Right now, it is pretty much ready for insurance and banking as of now, to a great extent, I would say. DKF. AKM is still work in progress. I think it will take some more time for AKM to be ready, but in due course, it will be ready with that also. So that's all from my side. These are the details in case if you need to reach out to any of us, or if you want to know more about it, you can go to this site, kddeducations.com. You can gather more detail, or if you have any query, you can definitely reach out to our founder, Sujata, at this email ID, or you can even contact me if you want. This is my ID. So thank you all. That's all from my side.